All right, welcome back, students. So in this part, we're going to be looking at an algorithm which will find the largest number in an array. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to be using the identifier numbers, like so, and we're going to assign to this some numbers. So we're going to assign, let's say, number 10, 3, 16, 20, and 11. Please don't mind my handwriting in this. It's a bit awkward to write with this drawing tablet, but there it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to declare another variable underneath this. So we're going to say largest item, like this, and we're going to assign 0 to this, like that, and then we're going to start a for loop. So the reason we need a for loop is so that we are able to iterate through this array one item at a time until the end. Now this can be achieved with a while loop as well, without a doubt, but the for loop is the most efficient way because we use for loops when we know the exact amount of times we're going to be iterating through something. While loops are usually used whenever you don't know exactly how many times you want the loop to loop, really. So in this case, we know how many times we want the code to iterate for, so that's why we're using a for loop. So we're going to say for I, so we're declaring another variable here, 0. To, remember from the first part, we're going to use the length or len subroutine, numbers like that, and then remember that -1, because then what happens is this for loop will run exactly the right amount all the way to the last index right here where the 11 is. Now the wonderful thing about setting up your for loop like this is that if your algorithm changes, let's say afterwards you go in and you add another item to this, so let's say we add the number 6, then you don't really need to change anything else in your code because your code will simply just run the for loop for this exact amount of time. So when it checks what the length of the array is, it will update the number, reduce it by 1 or subtract 1 away from it, and it will iterate the code inside the loop the correct amount of times. So the wonderful thing about setting up your program, your algorithm to use these subroutines is that if in the future you decide to increase the size of your array, doesn't matter, you can add 1,000,000 items to this array and this for loop will run for 1,000,000 times without actually changing, without you having to change anything in here. So just pay attention to these little sort of benefits that you can take advantage of as a programmer. Instead of actually counting manually the amount of items in the array and putting the number here. So for example, if we had written, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. So if we had written 6 items here, let's say even we did it correctly by saying to 5, so it goes all the way to the last index here. Then if in the future you add another item to this, so let's say we add the number 30, then the problem with this is now you have to go and change the for loop as well. Whereas using the len subroutine means that you don't have to really change anything other than adding or subtracting whatever you need from the array numbers. So we're just going to do that, numbers, and then -1 like that, and let's take away this 30 because it might just get rid of the 6 as well, doesn't really matter, like that. So what we want to do now is we want to check whether each item in this array is larger than the number we have stored in this variable right here, largest item. So we're going to be going through every single item in the array one at a time, and if the number in that index is larger than the number we have here in this variable largest item, then we're going to replace the number here with whatever number is in the array itself. So this 0 is going to be changing definitely at the beginning, but then it's only going to change if the number which we're looking at here in the array is larger than it. So we're going to need an if statement here. We're going to say if, and we can do this two ways. We can either start with the array first. So we're going to say if numbers, and then we're going to use those square brackets because we want to access one of the indexes here. So instead of me putting a number in here, I'm going to put the variable I, which we're using in the for loop. And because every time the for loop iterates, this variable will be incremented, which means increased by 1, well, this index here will change as well. This variable will change as well. And then we're going to access every single item in the array. We've done this quite a few times in the class. So, if you don't understand exactly how that works, just practice it again. There's some tasks on our virtual learning environment regarding it. So if numbers I, and because I is 0 at the beginning, we're going to start from number 10. If this number is larger than whatever is in this variable, so largest item, then what we're going to do is we're going to say largest item is going to be assigned to numbers I, like that. And we're going to end the if statement, and then we're going to end the for loop. Okay, so what's going to happen first is it's going to check this index because I is 0. So effectively what the program sees is 0 here. We've just put the variable I, but what the program actually sees is 0. And remember, this is in index 0 here. Now 10 is in fact larger than whatever is in this variable, which just happens to be 0 as well. So this statement is true currently. And because it's true, this line of code, this instruction, will actually be executed. So this variable largest item is going to be assigned numbers 0, which happens to be this value. So largest item becomes 10 like that. Once the for loop iterates, I becomes 1, which means that the values in these square brackets are changed by the program to 1 and 1. So then we're saying if numbers 1, which means we're looking at this item right here, is larger than or greater than largest item, which currently is 10, and that's a false statement because 3 is not larger than 10, then this instruction will not actually be executed, and the if statement will end, the for loop will iterate, I will become 2, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this. It's just going to repeat that same process, checking each index, and what will probably happen, not probably, definitely happen at the end, is this variable here will have been set to 20, like so, and you would have found the largest item in the array. Now this algorithm will work for you no matter where the largest item is located in the array. It could have been at the end, it could have been at the beginning, it could have been anywhere in the middle. This algorithm right here, finding the largest number in the array, works the same. Alright, so try it out for yourselves and see what you can get with it. So I'm just going to change this to the pseudocode again if you just want to have a look at it one more time. And that wasn't the number 20 at the beginning, that was the number 0, and hopefully that should sort it out for you.